Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam. Thanks for hanging out with me again today. And, you know, I say this an awful lot, but today's video is going to be something a little bit different. And, you know, it's true. Today is going to be something a little bit different. So it is an RC car. It's just not something I would normally feature on the channel. So the folks at DEERC sent this over to me to check out and to show off to you guys. So I didn't pay for this. This was sent to me from DEERC. So normally I don't do a whole lot of reviews on cars like this. And it's not that I don't like them. It's just most of the cars in these categories are generally a lot smaller and just don't do well in my environment here. You know, I don't have a paved road out in front of the house or, you know, a paved driveway or anything like that. I have gravel road, gravel driveway, grass yard that's all lumpy and bumpy, and then my track is not really suited for small scale cars. So I have turned down quite a few offers to review smaller, you know, 18th scale size cars. But when DEERC reached out to me, he said, hey, take a look at our Amazon store and see what you like, and we'll see if maybe we can do a collab. So I went and I saw that they were advertising 1/10 scale RC trucks, 3S brushless. So I'm like, hey, that would be more in line with something I would buy, I would have on my channel, and my viewers may be interested in watching. So they agreed and sent one out to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this out of the box real quick. You know, I'll just super fast it, and then we're going to take a look at the truck. Once I get some batteries charged up, we'll take it out and drive it around and see what it does. Okay, so we've got it unboxed, and you know, you get an awful lot in the box. So you do have the truck. Now this is advertised as 10 scale. It's close. I'll get a 10 scale truck down and we'll kind of compare the size. It is much bigger than an 18th scale kit. Now the cool thing is you get like I said, a good amount in the box. So it comes with two bodies. You have the orange one shown here, and then there's actually a purple one underneath of it. So that is really cool. Now you do get a rear wing and the mounts for the rear wing in the box, and it has everything to mount it. You get a small screwdriver in case you don't have any tools. You know, most of us aren't going to need it, but obviously if you're new to the hobby and this is your first truck, having the screwdriver in the kit to get it put together right away is great. You get this cool little brush for cleaning dirt and stuff off of out of the chassis. You do get a new pinion gear. It looks like a new spur gear, just in case something does go wrong. There is a small bag of assorted hardware. You get body clips, washers, nuts. Looks like some hex drives in here, cross pins. So a nice little baggie of hardware. I'm not going to open this up right now, but a nice little baggie of hardware. The obligatory cross wrench, you know, should come standard with every RC that's ever been made. You get your body clips, which is to help put on the wing. So basically there's two body clips that go underneath and then one body clip on top that holds the wing on each side. You get a 3S battery pack installed in the truck, and then you get another 3S pack separately. Now this is, let's see, this is a 1500 milliamp, 11.1 volts lithium ion pack. So it's a 3-cell 18650 pack. So it's basically three of like the little e-cig type batteries in there. The cool thing is you get two batteries and you get two chargers. Now in the instructions it does say they only recommend using their chargers for this. You know, if you have a pro-grade charger that will do lithium ion, I am sure it will charge it just fine. But, you know, in the instructions to save themselves lawsuits, they tell you only to use these chargers. It should take around about 4 hours to fully charge the battery from fully dead to fully charged. But the cool thing is you have two chargers, so you can charge both batteries at the same time. So you don't have to, you know, charge one, wait 4 hours, charge the other one. So that's pretty cool. Now, the other neat thing is, you also get some spare linkages. Looks like an upper link and then steering links in the kit. They do have, so two of them have ball ends in there. The rest of them are just the plastic links. So the cool thing is these little triangle packs that it comes with are pretty much the exact same triangle packs that some of their other 3S vehicles come with. So this is actually the 3S pack that came with the boat that Ryan from RD's RCs sent over. That is a DRC, and this one is actually a 2000 milliamp versus the 1500 that they give you here. So, you know, it's nice that, you know, you can, if you're getting multiple DRCs with the 3S packs, that you will be able to kind of swap them over. Now, I did notice in the boat one, the plug is a little bit shorter, but I don't think that's going to make a difference. The plug in here looks like it's fairly long and should be able to work with both. All right, so we have both the batteries on charge, so we should be able to go soon. So again, you get two bodies. The orange one, I like. It's nice. It's like a multicolored orange, reddish body. 4x4 Thump is the name of it. So, not a bad looking shell. It's that futuristic, you know, kind of design, but it looks really nice on the truck, and of course it'll look even better once we get the wing mounted on there. Now, they do come with the body clips that have the little plastic tethers on there, so that makes it really nice to be able to pop these off quickly. And like I said, you do get spares in the thing. All right, we're just going to open this up. I want to see if you get spare little tethers as well. Okay, so you actually get 6 spare body clips with the tethers in the accessory bag. You get 2 wheel hexes, you get 4 of the cross pins, you get 4 of the little shoulder screws for the suspension parts and probably the shocks, and then you get 4 wheel nuts in the accessory kit. So we take the body off, and you can see it looks like it's based off of a buggy chassis. It's a fairly small, compact chassis, fairly low to the ground, but it has a good enough ground clearance. I think it'll do fine out on the grass. Has DEEN connectors on the batteries and the ESC. You have Velcro straps holding your battery in. And again, you have that little triangle pack in there. You have looks like a 380 size brushless motor in there. I hate when they put the warning stickers over top of the heatsink. You know, I understand they're doing it for legal reasons to make sure you don't stick your finger on there and burn the heatsink in there. But thankfully it is removable, so it's not permanently stuck down to the thing. You know, you want to take that sticker off, you know. Read it, know you're going to burn yourself if you touch it possibly, and then peel the sticker off. That way you get airflow over those fins, helps cool the motor off. It's an all-in-one ESC and receiver, so it does have a 3-wire servo in here. It is not a full-size servo. It's like a mini servo, but it should be enough to crank the wheels back and forth on this. It does have an integrated servo saver in it, and you have plastic arms running from... So you have a plastic arm running from the servo to the bell crank, and then plastic arms running out from the bell crank down to the knuckles. So it does have what looks to be oil-filled shocks, but it does not feel like it has any oil in them. So I may have to take the shocks. I will take a shock off to verify, because it is pretty bouncy as is. It does have headlights in the front bumper. They look like ginormous LEDs, but I'm pretty sure it's just like a bulbous cover over top of an LED. Yeah, but overall it looks pretty stout. It has a big hex shaped steel drive shaft down the middle. Fairly decent looking arms, and it looks like the arms are fairly universal. It basically looks like you have a left and a right, and basically you just flip them around for the rears. So the rears and the fronts are the same, they're just kind of flipped. So your right rear will be your left front, and so on. They do have some webbing molded into the bottom of them to kind of brace them up so they're not super flimsy. They do have flex to them. Not a ton of flex. So in a kit like this, that's going to be for probably a newer hobbyist or just a fun basher truck, a flex is a good thing. You know, you don't want everything to be super rigid, and the minute you hit something, it's gonna snap instead of bend. These look like they may have enough flex. If you snag a wheel, everything in here is going to have enough flex to absorb the impact and go right back to where it was. It does have steel outdrives and steel drive shafts, front and rear. So it does have CVD drive shafts front rear, so it's a dog bone end on the transmission side, and then CVD on the outdrive side, on the wheel side. Looking at it, it looks like it does have steel hexes on the wheels. Okay, so you do have ball bearings throughout the vehicle. There is ball bearings in the hubs, and you actually get steel outdrive or steel hexes for the tires. So you have, actually it looks like a beadlock. Huh, that's interesting. So it actually looks like it has a beadlock style wheel on here. So you have the nice pretty outside, and then the inside there's actually screws holding the two halves together. You know what, let's just take that apart and take a look. So yes, you do have a 3-piece beadlock setup basically in this wheel. Now the tires are kind of unique. You have a very large opening on the backside and a smaller kind of deep dish on the inside, on the outside of it. So the tires are going to be fairly unique to this. So you're not going to be able to just go get some 2.2s or whatever and put on here. But with 12 millimeter hexes, you can pretty much put whatever wheel will fit around the hub. I'm assuming 2.2s probably will work, but I can check that as well. So while it's not mounted on there, I took one of the wheels, I took the wheel off the mud blaster, and unfortunately dropped the wheel nut and the cross pin and the hex and all that stuff down in the no man's land. But anyway, something like that would fit on here, so you could put different wheels and tires on here. But you know, at this point, it was just an example of what could possibly be done. I probably wouldn't recommend doing it right away. Just run it on the stock tires and see what it does. But I was just curious to see if you could run something different on there if you wanted to, and you can. Obviously, I don't know what wheels and tires you may have, but I would probably stick with something about this size on here. I wouldn't want to go anything much bigger. You don't have a huge motor in here, and you know, it's probably already geared to get as much speed out of it as possible. So if you put a bigger wheel and tire on here, it's just going to put more load on the motor, make everything run hotter. So I don't necessarily recommend it, but you know, with RC, you know, recommendations of what not to do are often, you know, tossed by the wayside out of curiosity. So let me pull one of these shocks off and see what we're working with there. Now it does look like it has captured hinge pins in the rear and the front. So you have the bulkhead. It has a very decent sized pin going through that's captured in the rear by the behind the bulkhead. The diffs, I'll pop one of those open, see what we're looking like for lubrication. But you do have threaded collars on the shocks, so you can adjust the spring tension. So I'm just going to wind that down here and pop the top off, see if we're working with any oil. All right, it does have a bladder. All right, so they put oil in just to lubricate the shock, but there is no oil in here for actual dampening. Okay, so under further inspection, basically I filled up the shock with the Tamiya soft oil, just because I have tons and tons of it here. Squeezed it. It felt exactly the same. There was no added resistance to putting in the oil. So I was like, what in the world kind of piston is in here? There's not. It's basically just a long screw that is in there as the shock shaft, and it just has the oil in there as lubrication. So you could potentially stick some heavy diff fluid in here and tighten up make some resistance in the shock. I may do it afterwards, but for right now, we're going to run it as it is because I don't want to run it differently than what you would get it as. So the shock does have a small O-ring at the bottom as kind of a bump stop to keep it from clanging together really hard. Overall, it's a plastic body, aluminum top cap, aluminum bottom, aluminum threaded spring perch up top, plastic spring perch at the bottom. You know, nothing terribly fancy, but a decent shock overall. Just is not going to give you a whole lot of tuning options as far as being able to, you know, change the weights of oils because there's no piston in there. You do have a few different screw mounting options. So you actually have, let's see, 5 different holes that you can choose from to mount your shocks in. Right now it's kind of in the furthest outside hole and furthest outside hole up top. You have 3 up top and 5 in the arm. So technically you could, you know, increase or decrease kind of the shock action by moving those around, but you are limited to dampening because there is no piston in the shock. Give me a second and I will get a measurement on these. So from eye to eye, you're looking about 76.5 millimeters. So you can probably put a set of, you know, 80 millimeter oil-filled shocks from Amazon or anywhere else on here and improve the performance for, you know, 15 bucks. So, you know, not a deal breaker, but it is a little bouncy. Not a big deal. So let's go ahead. I'm going to run the orange body. I'm going to leave the purple body as is. Now, with all these bodies, there is a protective film on. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that off so we can actually get a good look at it. So, of course, a little bit nicer, brighter, shinier body without the film on there. The purple one I'm going to leave on for now because we're just going to run the orange. Now, the wing mounts just go on with some body clips. And again, I'll fast forward this. You guys don't need to see me actually sticking body clips into something. Okay, so the wing is on there, and it does help out the look of the body overall. Stick it back on the truck. Yeah, gives it that little bit of more performance look to it. So let me stick the battery back in here. All right, so I've stuck the battery back in. This is just what the charge it came on, but it takes 3 AA batteries for the transmitter. So it's going to have decent range, but it's not going to be, you know, 6 football fields away from you running this around. And if you're 6 football fields away, you're probably not going to be able to see this thing which way it's going anyway. So on the transmitter, you basically have a speed control switch, so you can dial the speed down for somebody that's new or crank it all the way back up and have fun with it. There's a steering rate on there, and that's about it for, you know, adjustments. You can dial in your speed and dial in your steering. When you turn it on, the LED is going to blink red until you turn on the receiver. Then you get your cool little music when you turn on. Steering is actually really quick with that little servo, and it doesn't seem to have any problems on the bench turning it back and forth. I mean, you can hear the difference. So you can hear the difference. It's a little bit more, you can tell there's a load on it on the ground, but it doesn't have any problems with it. So I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. Now, speed-wise, yeah, this thing's going to be kind of nuts. So that should be interesting. It's going to be a handful. So you just press it for about a second. The ESC comes on. Press it for 2 or 3 seconds, and the ESC shuts off. Then you can shut your radio off. So let me take you off the tripod, bring you over here, take a look at everything that you get. So if you leave the truck on, the lights start blinking at you to let you know that you left it on. Now we're off. So that is the chassis. You have a decent sized little brushless motor, all-in-one ESC. Then you have your 3S pack. You have your small servo with the integrated servo saver into the servo horn. You know, plenty of steering out of it, plenty of speed out of it. Like I said, you have plastic links all the way around. Again, these will be good for crumpling if you hit something hard. You know, if you hit something hard on this wheel, because they are big wheels, they stick out, you hit something hard, it's liable to buckle that plastic rod, bend it, and then it'll pop back into place. That way you're not breaking the C-hubs, you're not breaking your spindles, you're not breaking any of your suspension arms and anything like that. It has somewhere for all that shock to go. So the underside, you know, nice and smooth, nothing to get hung up on. The arms sit pretty flat when it's under load. So you have a big front bumper on here, which should help with taking up any impacts. You have the little crush zone hoop to help absorb any main hits up front. So again, overall, a nice little car. And again, the body looks pretty slick too. You know, it's a nice screen printed body, and you know, I don't mind the name Thump on there. Your opinion your extra spur gear, which is nice and wide, so you should have good mesh and should hold up to some abuse. You have your replacement arms, so it looks like you have 2 steering and 2 upper links for front or rear. You have your little brush, you have a screwdriver. So these are the body clips off the car. And the nice thing is they're pre-bent a little bit, so they're not laying flat against the body, so they're a little bit easier to get, even if you do lose the little rubber pull tab. So you have the 4 on the car, and then there's actually 6 extras in the hardware bag. And then, like I said, you have some plastic hexes in case you lose one of the metal ones. You know, it'd be nice to see if they gave you the metal ones, but I understand, you know, those aren't cheaper. Those aren't as cheap as the plastic ones. And if you lose one, a plastic one is a whole lot better than not having one. Wheel nuts, you get your cross pins in there, you get shoulder bolts for the suspension, for the shocks, as well as the arms here. So, you know, you have some extra parts if need be. So for this kit, they have the 200E, which is this one, and then they have the 210E, which is the same truck. It just has the, you know, more like the pickup truck style body on it. The instructions are nice color pictures, explains everything. You know, it tells you how to set up the remote, what all the features are on the remote, tells you how to, you know, drive the car, the steering trim, the max speed control, some FAQs, specifications about the car. Then you have just general assembly of the wing. You have general assembly of the wing, the front and rear diffs, exploded view, the front, sorry about the glare, it's a very shiny paper. You have the front end, the wheel and tire, exploded view. Then you have the drive axle, or the drive shaft exploded view. It actually shows you all the steps of putting the wing on. It's pretty self-explanatory. Then you have a full exploded view of all the part numbers and everything on the truck. And then you have basically all your replacement parts here. So you have the part numbers. So if you need if you blow out a diff, or if you break a front steering carrier. So it's nice that they sell, like for the suspension, the steering, you get the C-hub and the spindle. For the lower suspension arm, there's a left and a right included. You know, so nice that they're, you know, you're able to get replacement parts, you know, wheel hexes, all that good stuff. You know, even if you need it, you have the part number for the motor, the receiver, the radio, all that stuff if you need it. And of course, you know, all the do's and don'ts. So general manual for ready to run. Like I said, the radio is nice. It's big enough for an adult to drive, no problem, but still it's small enough for a smaller kid to drive it. I have small hands. I have fat fingers. I have like sausage fingers, but not huge hands. But I can still get to the steering wheel with my little short thumb. Not that you're going to do a whole lot of thumb steering with this, but it does have a padded wheel on there. Again, you have your speed control, steering rate, on off. Not a whole lot there. Overall, you know, comfortable. And I like that they thinned out the neck of the radio up here, so if you are have smaller hands or are a kid, you know, it's a little bit easier to grip, but down here it's still nice and thick, so if you have bigger hands, you're not like folding your hand over top of itself. So, you know, overall ergonomic little radio. So for size comparison, that is a 1/10 scale stadium truck. This is a Duratrax Evader. You know, it's an older stadium truck, but this is the general overall size. This would be a Traxxas Rustler or anything like that, general size. You know, this is a little bit smaller. The wheelbase is shorter by, you know, 1.5 inches. The track width, again, is a little bit shorter, you know, by about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Height-wise, not that much of a difference. Tire-wise, about the same size tires. Ground clearance, fairly close to the same. This is a little bit lower to the ground than this is. But, again, this is much bigger than the 18th scale, you know, that you normally see on Amazon. So it is a bigger overall car. And in general NRC, the bigger it is, the better you're going to have a chance of just running around the yard and, you know, taking it wherever, and it being able to perform a little bit better. So we are going to get this out on the track. I have to get the batteries charged up. It's going to take a while. I don't know how much charge was in here. Usually it's the storage charge, so it's probably going to take 2 or 3 hours for these to charge up on the brick that I have over here. So as soon as we get those charged up, I will get it out on the track. We'll take few laps around, see how it does. We'll throw it out in the yard, see how it does. Does it get hot? Does it shut down? You know, how does it work? And then we'll come back and wrap this up. So we are back with the DEERC 210E. 200E, my bad. There's two of them. There's a 200 and a 210. The 200 has this body, and I think the 210 has more of like the, you know, kind of that infraction looking truck body. Not saying they copied anything, just saying that's what it looks like. So it ran really well. It's not, I had to mess with it to get it around the track. I actually had to dial the speed down to probably about 50% or less to get it around the track. You know, it's just too fast for my little track. Once we got it out in the grass, you know, you guys saw what a little animal this thing actually is. On 3S, it is a blast. Now, I will say we had 2 incidents out there, and both of them are my fault. One I caught on camera, so the rear tire that took off in the opposite direction of the car may be my fault. I'm not 100% sure. This is the tire that I took off to, you know, look at the shocks and, you know, everything, pull the tire apart and all that stuff to see there was a 3-piece tire, you know, so I may have not tightened it back up properly. I don't know. Thing to look for, just when you get it, make sure everything is good and tight. All the wheels are on there nice and tight. But, you know, I kind of think that may be my fault. The other issue we had, unfortunately, I did not catch it on camera. I went and moved to the front yard to run it around over the little humpy bumpies in the yard. So I got it all set up, and I thought I hit record, and evidently I didn't, because we had an epic wreck. Basically, I came blasting past the camera full speed, hit those rumps, the lumps and bumps, and this thing did a cartwheel and literally flew about 10 feet, about 3 foot off the ground, and slammed into that fence at the bottom. I knew right then and there something had drastically broken. Gave it some gas and it drove away. Now, I did bend the right rear axle, and, well, if you're sitting in it, left rear axle. So the tire was doing this a little bit. Came back inside, pulled the axle out, and figured, hey, let's try it. So I clamped it into the bench vise and tapped it with a hammer, got it back straight, and it's got a minor little wobble to it. Nothing I'm going to worry about. So they're not heat-treated axles. They are kind of a mild steel axle, but, you know, it saved me from snapping the axle off. And, you know, a little bit tap with the hammer, it's straight enough to run again. And, you know, even with the bent axle, I kept running it. It was still rocking and rolling with that tire back there wiggling and woggling around. Gobs and gobs of power. You know, this 3S system in here works really great. And the one thing I was worried about, being a little bit bigger truck, you know, how was it going to do with heat? The motor got warm. I mean, hot. You wouldn't want to hold your hand on it for a very long time, but you could actually set your hand on there and hold it there for a few moments, and it wasn't burning hot. So typical for, it was appropriately geared. It's not getting too hot. You know, the motor is getting hot. They're always going to get hot, but it's not getting excessively hot to where, you know, I hit thermal shutdown or anything. The ESC, you know, got warm, never got hot. And we went about a solid 15 minutes of runtime on, I'd say 15, 18 minutes of runtime off of the one battery. So overall, you get 2 batteries. By the time you run one, you're going to want to let it sit there for 10 or 15 minutes, let the motor cool off some, and then you can slap the other battery in, run it for another 15 minutes, and, you know, by that point, you're going to have you've had a great time. One thing to note, these little body clips don't work. You know, that's the only complaint I have. I lost 2 body clips out there. I lost one rear and I lost one front. So when I came back in and had to put the wheel back on, I noticed that one of the rear ones was missing. I replaced that one. And then once we came back in from the rest of the run, the front one was missing. The problem is they're too thin. They don't have enough clamping force to hold on. I'm sure they did it to make it more easy to get on and off and be a little bit more kid-friendly. But, you know, do yourself a favor, go on Amazon, $2 or $3, buy a pack of small body clips, go down to your local hobby shop, pick some up. You probably already have some on your bench. I just pulled the little tabs off of the thin ones, put them on the thicker ones. I have a whole bunch left over from Tamiya kits, the small ones, and, you know, they fit on there, and they don't want to, I mean, they do come off easily, but they don't want to come off as easily as these did. So would I recommend this truck? Comparative to all the little 18th scale ones that I have seen, and any of the ones that I have driven, yes, I would definitely recommend this truck. It blows them out of the water. The power The speed is twice what I have run before. I'm not going to name any names, but you can go back and see who I've run cars from before. But, you know, worlds different, this one compared to those. And the price difference isn't that much more. You're getting a little bit bigger truck. It's a whole lot faster. It does well in the grass. Now, in the really thick grass beside my track, you know, it's an old, it was a garden, so the grass in there is thick. You know, it bogged down. I would not recommend running it in long, shaggy grass. You're going to overheat the motor. You're going to overheat the ESC. Short grass, dirt, gravel, rocks, you know, any kind of surface like that, pavement, you're going to be rocking and rolling. Now, be careful on high grip surfaces like pavement, a tennis court, anything like that. You are going to want to get traction roll. So there's some faint little stress marks back here on the body where it, you know, bent as it was tumbling around. But overall, the body holes are fine. Everything is fine. The wing held up nicely. And that's probably where some of that marking is coming from, is that wing tugging on the body. But overall, really great little car. I have a link down in the description below if you're interested to DEERC on Amazon. Let me see what they're running right now. So I just pulled it up on my phone as I'm recording this, and today is the 23rd. They're $179.99, but there's a $40 off coupon on the Amazon app, so you're only paying $139.99, free shipping if you're an Amazon member. And right now this is telling me it's a 1-day delivery for me tomorrow. And so, you know, 140 bucks for a fast little 3S capable truck, 2 batteries, fully ready to run, 2 bodies. And I don't see a problem with that. Now parts, let me look that up. Okay, so if I want to replace the axle, same thing, 2-day delivery, 13 bucks on Amazon for 2 CVD shafts. So you can replace one that you bent, have one on hand. A diff is 15 bucks if you blow out a diff. Now the diffs are greased internally well. Externally, they do have grease on them. Not that great, but they do have grease in there. Shouldn't be an issue. And I noticed no grinding, skipping noises out of anything. The diffs still feel really nice and smooth. If anything, the front could actually use a little bit more grease in there. Let's see, a steering assembly is like 9 bucks. The servo and servo saver and rod is 14 bucks. Knuckles and C-hubs are 8 bucks. A pair of wheels and tires is 15 bucks. A whole new rear wing assembly is 8 bucks. A whole new main drive shaft with the spur gear and input gears on both ends is 13 bucks. Yeah, so, you know, it's not an expensive one to keep going. And, you know, for what you're getting in that little brushless ESC and motor combo, you know, that's 50 bucks right there. Plus you're getting the rest of the car. So, you know, all in all, I don't think it's a bad deal. You guys make your judgment on it. I'm not getting paid to say that this was a good car. I would tell you if it was crap, Overall, I'm happy with it. The shocks did not seem to really hold it back. You know, it's a little animal out there. It's just going to do what it wants to do, and you're just kind of giving it suggestions on where to go. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys liked the little review of this. Thank you, DEERC, for sending it out to me for the review and to show you guys. And again, everybody out there, you guys, as always, be happy, be healthy, be safe, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.